Hi, this is Christian, and welcome to NFL Updates Express, your weekly dose of NFL news. Coming your way, Wildcard Weekend predictions.
Hi, this is Dylan, and welcome back to NFL Updates Express. For our first playoff game, we have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Houston Texans. Now, I think this game is sort of a toss-up and will probably not be a high-scoring one, as both teams are all around pretty good. Now, the Texans have J.J. Watt, and he'll be a big factor in holding back Alex Smith, Jeremy Maclin, and the rest of the Chiefs' offense. He'll really have to step up in order to do this, and I don't know if it'll be enough to hold them back, as he is just one player. They also have DeAndre Hopkins on their side, who will be a big threat against the defense of the Chiefs, and I think they'll have a hard time containing him, which means more points for the Texans. Overall, I think the Texans just don't have enough factors, though, in this game, and the Kansas City Chiefs will take this one.
The first matchup is on ESPN as Wildcard Weekend kicks off, when the Kansas City Chiefs travel to NRG Stadium to take on the Houston Texans. Now, we already know about the Texans and J.J. Watt, the premier player on the defensive side for the Texans, but their offense will be a big factor, and if they can put up enough points against this Kansas City defense. I think that the receivers really need to have a big day against the Chiefs and their corners, and with Eric Berry as safety, they really need to make the most out of their opportunities when they throw the deep ball. For the Chiefs, on the other hand, they have some pretty good running backs. Leading the way, Shakandrick West and also Spencer Ware can make things happen, and Alex Smith with his check-down receivers. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs will edge out the Houston Texans in Houston and get their first playoff win in a long time.
Our next game is the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. This will be A.J. McCarron's chance to shine on a big stage against a tough team. Now, his teammates will be supporting him, but it'll be hard under the lights of the playoffs and against the Steelers' defense, so I'm interested to see how McCarron does. The Steelers, on the other hand, have Ben Roethlisberger, who will be throwing to Antonio Brown all game, I would assume, and that'll make for a very hard matchup for the Bengals to contain. Overall, though, I think the Bengals are all around a better team than the Steelers, even with A.J. McCarron, and will get the job done in the playoffs to take down Pittsburgh.
In the second game of the playoffs, it's an AFC North battle between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals, well, we all know they don't have their starting quarterback, and that means that A.J. McCarron, who only has a few starts this season, will need to step in if the Bengals want to advance in the playoffs. For the Steelers, well, they might not have DeAngelo Williams in this one, and that means Fitzgerald Toussaint, who has not played much at all this season, and he'll need to carry the load for the Steelers on the ground if they want to have any hope of winning this game. But I don't know if they'll be running the football a lot, as we know with Ben Roethlisberger passing to targets like Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, Marcus Wheaton, and also Heath Miller. That should be a dynamic passing attack if the Steelers don't turn the ball over, and I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers will have their way for the most part, but since it is a division matchup the third time this season, the Bengals will keep it close, and with Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill, this should be a fun game. But overall, I think I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers in a narrow win.
Another game we have coming up is the Seattle Seahawks versus the Minnesota Vikings. Now, when you look at this matchup, you might think, well, the Seahawks are going to crush. They have Russell Wilson, they have a great defense, and overall have just been a great team as they've made the Super Bowl the past 2 years in a row. The Vikings, on the other hand, have been a surprise team making the playoffs this year, and I think they want to keep that momentum going. Adrian Peterson has been having a great year and will be looking to drive them into a deep run of the playoffs. The Seahawks, on the other hand, have been losing their mojo this year, and I just don't think they can make it far into the playoffs for a third year in a row. I think Minnesota will get the upset on this one and take down.
The first matchup in the NFC kicks off in Minneapolis when the 6-seeded Seahawks travel to take on the 3-seeded Minnesota Vikings. The Seahawks are one of the league's best teams, and after a slow start to the season, they've really rebounded in the second half as their defense has been the biggest key for that. Russell Wilson has been an MVP-like candidate, only rivaling Cam Newton and Carson Palmer among a couple of others. And if he keeps up this play against the Minnesota defense, then I think Seattle will be tough to stop throughout the playoffs. Minnesota, on the other hand, well, I think they can make this game pretty close, and a lot of people think this game will be a big mismatch and a Seattle victory, but I don't think so. I think Minnesota will make the game close with Adrian Peterson, and expected sub-zero temperatures. Minnesota may have an advantage there. Overall, though, I don't see Minnesota having enough firepower to get the job done, and I think Seattle wins in a close one.
The next matchup is the Green Bay Packers taking on the Washington Redskins. This one is similar to the last game, as when you look at it, you think, well, Green Bay is going to run away with it. But with the year they've been having, I'm not too sure. Washington can hold a big threat. Kirk Cousins has been on fire lately, and they've just been having a great offensive year, and their defense has been doing pretty well as well. Green Bay has had some tough times this year coming off their last couple good years, and so I think that making a run into the playoffs will be more difficult than ever. However, I think they're just the better team in this scenario and will be able to take down Washington with ease.
The last matchup of Wild Card Weekend is when the Green Bay Packers travel to FedEx Field to take on the Washington Redskins. Now, the Redskins have been pretty good in the second half of the year, and Kirk Cousins is leading the way, and if he can get a playoff win or two, he'll earn himself a mega contract this offseason. But it's not all Kirk Cousins. The defense has played decent at times and good enough to win games. On the Packers side, well, their defense has been okay, but it's been their offense that's really struggling. Aaron Rodgers, he just doesn't seem right without his number one target, who tore his ACL in the preseason, Jordy Nelson, as we all know. And the Packers really just haven't been the same since. Overall in this game, I think it'll be pretty good and should come down to the final minutes of the game, but overall, I see the Washington Redskins delivering a playoff win, and you'll be hearing their fans say, "You like that? You like that?"
It's the wild card to Super Bowl 50. Who do I think could have an off chance of getting to the Super Bowl? Well, that would be the Minnesota Vikings. The offensive power of Adrian Peterson is just too great for most teams, and they just have a great time on offense with Teddy Bridgewater leading the way. And their defense is not too bad as well. I think they have a slim, but nonetheless a chance of getting to Super Bowl 50.
For the teams in the wild card round that could make it to the Super Bowl, well, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. The Seattle Seahawks in the NFC, and the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. We already know about the Seattle Seahawks resume as they've been to the last two Super Bowls, but the Kansas City Chiefs are a very interesting team. With a very good defense and a quarterback that doesn't make too many mistakes, we could be seeing both these teams in February for the Super Bowl. Let's check out the scores for the last week and the regular season week 17. It was the Lions over the Bears 24-20, the Panthers over the Buccaneers 38-10, the Bills big upset to put the Steelers in the playoffs 22-17 over the Jets, the Dolphins over the Patriots 20-10, the Saints over the Falcons 20-17, the Bengals over the Ravens 24-16, the Steelers over the Browns 28-12, the Texans over the Jaguars 30-6, the Colts over the Titans 30-24, the Redskins over the Cowboys 34-23, the Eagles over the Giants 35-30, the Chiefs over the Raiders 23-17, the Broncos over the Chargers 27-20, the Seahawks over the Cardinals 36-6, the 49ers in overtime over the St. Louis Rams 19-16, and the Vikings over the Packers 20-13. The most entertaining game was Vikings versus Packers, and the upset of the week was Dolphins versus the Patriots. My prediction record for this week was 10-6, and Dylan's was 8-8. My prediction record for the entire year is 157-99. Dylan's is 145-111. Our final percentages for the entire year, mine is 61.3%, and Dylan's is 56.6%.